Let's dim the lights, YouTube. The sound. What's up, YouTube? My name is Bill. I am the host of KO Bets. Tonight, we have an exciting fight card to review, preview, give picks and predictions for. UFC Sao Paulo, UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Lewis. Jailton Almeida taking on Derek Lewis in Brazil. I know Derek Lewis is stepping in on short notice. I'm not sure who he's replacing, to be honest. We've had a week off in between events. We just are coming off of UFC, what was it, 294? Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2. So we're going to look back on that card, see how we did pick-wise. Then we'll get into tomorrow's card. I'll give my picks and predictions for every fight. From there, we'll get into trending topics and just try and stay out of trouble. So before we get started, please like the stream, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support tremendously. Let's get into it. NFT update. Let me see where we're at. Oh, here we go. 67 subscribers. Tell everyone about me. So we'll go over UFC 294 first. Makhachev, Volkanovski 2. I mean, we went with Islam. We went with Islam inside the distance, but I didn't expect a round one head kick KO. Terrific win for Islam. Good for him. Beats Volkanovski. Kamaru Usman had a great showing against Khamzat Chimaev. I took Khamzat early as a pick. Definitely didn't look like a minus 360 favorite in that fight. He did in round one for sure, but then apparently some sort of hand injury happened in round one. And for being like, everyone touts his cardio as just being absolutely insane. And I believe it, but like, I think there's only so much you're physically able to accomplish in a 15-minute period, and he definitely looked gassed in round 3 against Kamaru Usman, who does have that 5-round experience. So it was like still super impressive that Khamzat Chimaev beat Kamaru Usman. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's lost to Leon Edwards, and that's all, right? So still an impressive win. I went with Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah, this is such bullshit. First of all, Magomed Ankalaev, can you get any more unlikable? Like, the dude's calling Johnny Walker a chicken after he throws an illegal strike in a fight. He just like, the last 2 fights, it's just like, what the fuck, man? I think this guy is probably the most well-rounded 205-pounder right now. I think there's just, like, there are some elite strikers right now at 205, but I think Magomed Ankalaev is a really good striker, and then also brings a grappling component that just not a lot of the top 205ers bring. Johnny Walker, like, it just sucks. He was ready to continue the fight. I think he was trying to recover and continue. I don't know even how much time had passed before, like, the doctor was in the octagon asking him where he was at, and he says the desert. Just absolutely brutal outcome. I feel for more so Johnny Walker's side. Just because Magomed, I think I have an open prop bet for Magomed to be the belt holder at the end of 2023, which clearly isn't going to happen. So, like, I was a huge proponent for Magomed, and just, I don't want to call it, like, it was 2 different things, right? But I just think to throw that knee strike is just, it was so blatant and obvious, but at the same time, like, they just got to change the rule, right? Because it's a fight, and you got to be defending yourselves at all times. I think that 3 point of contact rule is kind of bullshit, and it, like, by definition, it just can't be a weight supporting limb, basically. So if it's like just fingertips, technically it's legal. It's a legal strike, but like that was clearly illegal as it's defined, the strike Magomed threw. But I think they just need to change it, because like you can't, I know it's a safety issue, but like you can't just be like baiting fighters. There's just been too many just like big fights that have been ruined in recent memory by illegal knees. Ikram Aliskerov, Warley Alvarez. Ikram looked fantastic. We went with Ikram. Saeed was a parlay piece. He looked really terrific. Round 1 submission against Gufarov. I took Makayev in this fight to win a decision. He got the round 3 submission. Is a good fight. Trevor Peek versus Yaya. This was a total miss. I thought this was going to be like round 1, under 1.5 round stoppage for either guy. Turns out to be a unanimous decision for Trevor Peek. Javid Basharat, Victor Henry, like, it's another one, just unfortunate, low kick, or it was a knee or a kick. I can't remember, but yeah, it just gets called because of the crotch shot. Dumas wins the unanimous decision against Abu Azaitar. Mike Breeden, that fight was so fun. He's barking at Jubilee, marching him down in the 3rd round, and Jubilee just looked lost. Nathaniel Wood, I took Nathaniel Wood to beat Muhammad Naimov. I still think Nathaniel Wood's the better fighter. I don't think he did enough. Like, I don't know if he let like the penalties sway how he was approaching this, but overall, I just didn't think he did enough to win the fight. So I think regardless of the missed penalties or the, and he had a lot of violations, Muhammad did. Like, arguably could have had a point taken away, but I still don't think Nathaniel Wood did enough. At that point, it's a majority decision or split decision victory for him. And I just don't feel like Nathaniel Wood did enough. Looked better. I mean, even in the 3rd, though, I'm pretty sure he got taken down. Yeah, he gets taken down. Like, you got taken down every round. He had top control on you. And then from a stand-up perspective, like, you didn't... Yeah, he definitely did better in the stand-up that 3rd round. But, like, you lost the fight, bro. Victoria Dudikova taking on Jinyu Frey. I took Dudikova. Decision. Gets it done. I faded Shara Magomedov in his debut against Bruno Silva. Man... Bruno Silva, if he could have landed some ground and pound, he would have won this fight. But ultimately, the strike discrepancy was just too much in favor of Shara. I'm still not sold on him as a potential contender in the UFC, but there's no question this guy's going to be very entertaining. He's a really interesting striker. And he's going up there and trying to fuck people up. And that's why I tune in every Saturday. So, really good debut from Shara. Like, to come out in your debut and beat a fighter like Bruno Silva, I'm talking shit. Huh. It was an incredible showing from Shara. Really impressive. Like, I'm interested. I'm definitely interested in tuning into his next fight. So pretty good week with picks, but couple. I don't know. Just wasn't UFC 294 wasn't as. Did it live up to the hype? What do you think? Did it live up to the hype? I would say probably not. Now we got UFC Fight Night. Jailton Almeida taking on Derek Lewis. Don't count out the Black Beast. Kyle Fernandez taking on Mark Diakisi. We pronounce everything right the first time on this show. Fernandez is making his UFC debut. Diakisi 7-7 in the promotion on a 2-fight losing streak. I'll start with Mark Diakisi because I've actually watched a ton of his fights. He's definitely transformed over the years. Switched from what I thought was more of a strike-heavy approach to just turned into Habib, basically, and is just looking to rack up double-digit takedowns on his opponents, even if he doesn't have the best top control. He's just going for an insane amount of takedowns, and he's been pretty successful at it thus far. Given, I mean, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Alvarez and Michael Johnson, I think, most recently. Yeah, but in this fight, he's going to be way more experienced. 14 UFC fights. This guy's making his debut. Like, talk about a tough debut. This is a tough one for Fernandez. So what we know about Fernandez, he's a really good striker, right? Really proficient, powerful, good striker. Does have power. I think this fight, like, both of these guys get tired. And I favor the guy with a little more experience in Diakisi if they're both tired. Like, just to do the savvy move, whatever it takes to win. I like Diakisi. So I'm going to roll with Diakisi in this fight. I think if you're going with Fernandez, what he needs to do is just avoid getting taken down. He needs to catch Mark Diakisi, who does have knockout losses on his record. Oh no, he doesn't have any. 3 submission losses. Yeah. Fernandez might be screwed. So I'm gonna go with Diakisi to win this fight. I'm gonna say it's a decision, and he just wins by wrestling and controlling this fight. As far as a bet, let's look at the lines. Diakisi's the favorite at -192. I'm probably more interested now -205. I'm probably more interested in that type of action than I am in picking the exact method of victory. Does Diakisi have any submission wins? Only one. That was his 4th fight, professional fight. Yeah, I don't think he's putting it away, but because of the gas tank issues we're gonna see, someone's gonna look like crap at some point in this fight. The later it goes, and I'm betting on that Fernandez is just gonna look like crap. You're going up against a guy who's in his last 4 or 5 fights has just wrestled at an incredible pace. Like, I think Diakisi melts him, and so I'm probably more likely to put like the money line in a round robin bet than pick any sort of exact outcome from a betting perspective, just in case one of these fighters gasses out. So I think Diakisi wins that fight. Eduardo Mora taking on Montserrat Ruiz. Eduardo Mora is making her UFC debut. 8 out of 9 wins inside the distance. Monteras Ruiz, she's on a 2-fight losing streak. She is 1-2 in the UFC. We'll start with Ruiz, with somewhat of a UFC resume. I don't know what she's good at. Wants to wrestle, but isn't she's 5 foot tall. Look at the reach difference, the height difference. Like, what did I say?
Foot.
It's when you say foot, it sounds smaller.
5 foot nothing.
She's almost legally. Not allowed to ride on a lot of rides at the amusement park. 5 feet tall. She's going to give up a lot of size to Mora, who was on Dana White Contender Series and just seems like a really good grappler. So if Ruiz is, if what she's best at is grappling, and I don't really think she's an amazing fighter, I think this is just a tough matchup for Ruiz. And Mora's making her debut against a fighter with 3 UFC fights under her belt. You look at I'm going to go with Mora. You look at the line, minus 625 on someone making their debut is ridiculous. I think she could get it done inside the distance. Odds makers agree that this fight will not go the distance. And so the KO or submission is at minus 165. The submission or decision is at minus 200. I think those are better parlay pieces, better round robin pieces than hanging a minus 625 price tag on a fighter making their debut. Angela Hill taking on Denise Gomes is the next fight. Angela Hill, she's on a 1-fight losing streak. She's 10-13 in the UFC. So she's had a lot of fights in the promotion, 23. Denise Gomes is on a 2-fight win streak. She's 2-1 in the promotion. Angela Hill, really good output. You know, if the fight's going to a decision, Angela Hill's typically a very reliable bet. She's capable of winning minutes. She's got plenty of output, really good cardio. But Denise Gomes is strong, really powerful puncher, younger, should be improving. And I mean, I could see Angela Hill potentially winning the start of this fight, but I think eventually Denise Gomes is going to hurt Angela Hill and probably get a knockout. She's coming off of back-to-back knockouts in the UFC. 6 out of 8 of her wins have come via knockout, and Angela Hill's never been knocked out in her professional career, but I think this could be the first one, because Denise Gomes is just extremely, she throws hard punches and carries a lot of power for this weight division. Gomes is the favorite at minus 142. I think the fight, if it goes to a decision, if you think it's gonna, like, is there a decision only? If it's decision only, like, yeah, it sways a little bit in Angela Hill's favor. I kind of think she could win the decision at minus 135. Maybe that's the bet to make, but I think eventually Denise Gomes catches her. I wouldn't do... I'd just do the knockout. I think there's a little bit of value on that if you're going with Denise Gomes. The decision's at plus 180, but the knockout prowess is there. And I think there's just... it could be, in my opinion, it's closer to a coin flip on either result, and it just seems like the better values on that KO. Even though Hill has never been KO'd, I think she will this fight. Vitor Petrino taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Petrino's on a 2-fight win streak. He's 2-0 in the promotion. Bukauskas is on a 2-fight win streak. He is 2-0 in his current stint in the UFC. He was 1-3 in his first stint in the UFC. Vitor Petrino is the fighter to pick, I think, here. I think he's got a lot of power. 6 out of 9 wins are via knockout. Just got a submission win his last fight against Prochinow. So he's developing new aspects of his game that he didn't really have before. And on top of that, he's just massive. The longer the fight goes, he definitely gets tired, but I like him to put it on Bukauskas here, and I think this will be more of a stand-up fight, and I think he catches Bukauskas, who's got 3 knockout losses. I think they came to Khalil Roundtree, Michael Olajaychik, and Jimmy Crute. I think Vitor Petrino is capable of knocking out Modestas. I think in order to win this, Modestas, has to have enough volume out there. He's got to, score points and not get hit. But I just think eventually Vitor Petrino finds him, especially right out the gate, should be pretty aggressive and put this one away early, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Petrino in this fight. He is the favorite at minus 245. Odds makers do not like this to go the distance at minus 175. And they also like the KO method of victory. Not opposed to hanging a little bit on Petrino to win round 1 knockout, plus 320. But I like Petrino, I think, via knockout in that fight. Renat Fakhretdinov taking on Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Renat is on a 3-fight win streak. He's 3-0 in the promotion. Notable, he beat Kevin Lee, and then Kevin Lee retired. It's still, he beat him. He looked great against Brian Battle. Dos Santos, he's 10-3 in the UFC. He's been around a really long time, just not super active. When you look at the notable wins, like Sean Strickland, Benoit Saint Denis, those are great wins. So what does Dos Santos do well? I think he's really good in the striking department. Pretty dangerous, unorthodox there. And then he's a really good jiu-jitsu artist. So I think he's a really well-rounded fighter. I think this is a tough matchup against Renat, who's just looked incredible thus far. Seems like a really good grappler, and then just seems to carry really good power in his hands. super technical, composed in his fights. I do think this is the biggest test of his UFC career thus far, but I think if he's able to grapple, stay safe in the guard of Dos Santos, he's going to win a convincing decision in this fight. I'm going to go with Renat via decision. The odds makers also like Renat at minus 340. Odds makers, it's basically a pick'em if this goes the distance. The way it's priced out, it looks like they like the Renat decision just like I do. But I'm gonna roll with Renat there in that fight. We'll highlight after. I have to think about it. I don't think minus 340. Maybe Renat's a parlay piece. For sure, around robin, I'm just trying to think if he's going to be a parlay piece at all. I don't know. We've got Elvis Brenner taking on Kanan Kuchewski. I think Kanan is a late replacement. He's making his UFC debut. I didn't do a lot of research on Kanan, but we've got Elvis Brenner, who is 2-0 in the UFC, coming off of 2 wins. I think in this fight, we're just in a spot where we're going to see a Brazilian fighter in their hometown just featured in a good fight. So I think he wins this fight pretty comfortably. Looking at Kanan, he likes to grapple. Don't laugh. I don't know anything really about this guy, but he's got 5.3 takedowns per 15 minutes is his average. 100% takedown accuracy. Was he on... Crystal, stop laughing. Was he in Contender Series? Oh yeah, he was. Gets a round 1 rear naked choke. Looks like 13 out of 15 wins inside the distance. Elvis Brenner, 11 submission victories. I'm going to go with Brenner here. I think Brenner gets it done. I don't know if it's going to be inside the distance. If we just see a grapple-heavy approach from both of these fighters. But I'm going to roll with Elvis Brenner. I'll probably say there's value on whatever's better price between the submission and the decision. So odds makers don't like this to go the distance at minus... What was that? Minus 280. The decision's at plus 330 here. That would have to be my preference. Simply because the other fighter's never been submitted and is also a good grappler. So I'm going to roll with the decision for Elvis Brenner at plus 330. Rodolfo Vieira taking on Armin Petrosyan. Vieira is on a 1-fight win streak, 3-2 in the UFC. Armin Petrosyan is on a 2-fight win streak, is 3-1 in the UFC. Looking at these two fighters, you've got a grappler against a striker. Armin Petrosyan, Muay Thai striker. And then you've got Rodolfo Vieira, who's a really good black belt jiu-jitsu artist. Comparing the two fighters, I think Armin's got the better gas tank. His terrible takedown defense, but is good at hanging around in fights and wait for his opponents to gas out, or just is the fresher fighter, it seems like, later, and then is able to keep the fight standing and has a pretty good knockout prowess. A majority of his wins coming via KO, and then you've got a majority of Rodolfo's wins coming via submission. I think if Arman survives round 1, he's able to win probably a knockout victory over Rodolfo Vieira. If Rodolfo wins, he's gonna get a round 1 submission. So I think like the Rodolfo submission, Petrosian knockout, similar to the main card when we get to that, like something like that makes sense. But I'm gonna roll with Petrosian in this fight, and this line has gone back and forth, but I think Petrosian makes sense. Just because I feel like he'll be the minute winner if this does go to a decision. I think he wins, rounds 2 and 3. Vieira will be dangerous early, though. Odds makers don't like this to go the distance. I agree. I like the Petrosian KO. Odds makers also like the Vieira submission. So I think Vieira, I think there's something where, so the Vieira submission and Arman KO is at minus 190, which is interesting, but maybe a round robin piece or something. But I'll go with Petrosian to get a knockout, probably later. So if you're doing a same game, I'd say something like that. Out of the first round, knockout. The next fight we've got is Caio Borralho taking on Abus Magomedov. I'm a big fan of Borralho. He's 4-0 in the UFC on a 4-fight win streak, and he's just looked really impressive. He's taking on Abus Magomedov, who's coming off of the, we can call it embarrassing, even though Sean's got the belt, an embarrassing loss to Sean Strickland, where he just, he looked great in round 1 and then didn't have anything left in the tank. So I think if Sean Strickland was able to melt him that quickly, I think a fighter like Borralho, who's just a terrific grappler, really tough, has good cardio, I think he does the same. I think he eventually melts Abus. If he's able to get a takedown in round 1, get this fight to the ground in round 1, I would recommend live betting on Borralho to just absolutely win the fight. I think he's the better fighter, more well-rounded. Abus is a terrific striker, but if it's not a round 1 win for Abus, there's no way he wins. So I'm rolling with Borralho in this fight. He is the favorite at minus 290. Odds makers also don't think this will go the distance. They like the Borralho submission as well. I think if you like Abus, don't mess around. Just take the round 1 KO plus 1,000. Get out of here. But I'm going to roll with Borralho submission. Rodrigo Nascimento taking on Dontel Mays. This is the second time these guys have fought. I didn't count the fights in between, but now they're seeing each other again. Nascimento's on a 2-fight win streak, 3-1 in the promotion with 1 no contest. Dontel Mays is on a 1-fight win streak, 3-3 in the UFC with 1 no contest. Dontel Mays, I haven't been a fan of thus far. I think he's he got the knockout win against Andrei Arlovsky, who was winning 7 minutes of that fight. Obviously carries good power, but just no output, and I think probably doesn't have a good gas tank. and just hasn't looked impressive thus far. He hasn't, like, Andrei Arlovsky is his best win. And that dude's, I don't know if he's still fighting. He's old, though, on the other side of 40, right? Nascimento, he won the first fight between these guys. I think he's, Dontel Mays probably has improved his takedown defense a little bit, but isn't going to be able to match you on the mat. So just get this fight to the mat and submit him. So I'm going to roll with Rodrigo Nascimento in this fight. And he is the favorite. Odds makers do not like this to go the distance as well. And they like these Nascimento submission. The next fight is Gabriel Bonfim taking on Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby has been around for a while. He is 5-1 in the UFC with 1 no contest. Gabriel Bonfim is he's on a 2-fight win streak, 2-0 in the UFC. 15-0 though professionally. All 15 wins come inside the distance, 12 submissions, 3 knockouts. So 100% finish rate. He's coming off of 4 straight submission victories involving the, choking out his opponent. And just seems like he's going to be a future contender. Seems really well-rounded, powerful striker, aggressive striker, and then just a really terrific grappler, and dangerous on the mat. Dalby's on a 3-fight win streak. He's been in 6 straight decisions. His last finish was in 2019. And 12 out of 22 of his wins have come via decision. All 4 of his losses were decisions. He's really tough, but I think this is a tough opponent in Bonfim here. I think how Dalby probably wins this fight is like point striking with Bonfim. So I think you're going to have to see like just a much worse version of Bonfim than what we've seen thus far. And I don't really see that happening. So I'm going to roll with Gabriel Bonfim, the heavy favorite, to get it done inside the distance, giving Dalby his first loss inside the distance, and I think it's probably a submission. Gabriel Bonfim is minus 600. Odds makers do not like this to go the distance. They like the Bonfim submission as well. Yeah. I think Bonfim gets it done. And then we've got the main event. We've got Jailton Almeida taking on Derek Lewis. Jailton Almeida, 5-0 in the UFC. Derek Lewis is on a 1-fight win streak, stepping in here on short notice. We know what Derek Lewis does. He brings one punch. How do you say that? One punch power to the table. What does that mean? He can knock you out with 1 punch. Jailton Almeida has looked super impressive thus far. I think the game plan against Derek Lewis needs to be the same one it was against Rosenstrike. Just take him down, get the round 1 submission, get your money, and get out of there. And Derek Lewis, catch him on the entry. Don't get taken down. Do not get taken down. Derek Lewis, there's not a whole lot of grappling in the heavyweight division, but when he's gone up against grapplers, he gets taken down, gets held on his back. I don't really see a scenario where he doesn't get submitted if this fight does go to the mat. I think this is likely a round 1 victory for whoever wins, but I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida. That being said, we're going to look at what that round 1 TKO for Derek Lewis looks like. Jailton Almeida is the favorite at minus 485. Odds makers minus 10,000. This doesn't go the distance. I mean, it's 5 rounds, but wouldn't that be crazy, right? Plus $11 for every dollar you bet is what you win. They like the Jalton Almeida submission at minus 135. The Derek Lewis KOs at plus 450. Looking at the fight parlays, Derek Lewis KO in round 1 is plus 850. I'll probably sprinkle that. I'll probably also sprinkle, wow, minus 110 for the round 1 submission. At that point, I'd just rather go with Jalton Almeida submission at minus 135. It's a 5-round fight. So it might be Jalton's first 5-round fight. So that concludes the UFC Sao Paulo picks and prediction portion of the show. Let's see what's going on. Oh, we gotta check the NBA scores. The NBA's doing their play-in tournament. I kind of get it, but I also, what are we doing? Doesn't it seem a little stupid? Great, the Bulls fucking lost. Honestly, the fucking Bulls. What are we gonna do? It sucks. The Heat won. Milwaukee won. Indy won. The Bulls they just tick me off so much. They can't figure it out. Anyways. Yeah, so there's just a bunch of NBA stuff trending because it's the play-in tournament. No one knows what the play-in tournament is. What's going on with Don Lemon? I didn't think he was with CNN.
Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? Number 4 now is the N-word. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype the master intended, acting like a nigger? Now number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here. Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number one, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male...
When did he do this? Alright, so... I don't really, I don't really know what I just watched, but, yeah, and I still don't understand why Don Lemon is trending. I really don't. Yeah, all these are like NBA players, and for some reason Brittany Griner's also trending. Let's see what's going on in entertainment. Oh, we're watching the new Goosebumps series, so that's what I'm gonna watch when I sign off of this here, which will be in the next couple of minutes. But we're watching Goosebumps on Disney Plus, and it's pretty good. We like it. So the finale's on tonight. It's like 8 episodes. They're pretty short, like 35 to 40 minutes each, and yeah, we've just really enjoyed it. It's fun, it's not too scary, it's a good time. So we'll watch that tonight, and then I'll watch fights tomorrow. I'll try and send out some tweets during the fights just to convey my bets and picks, but I appreciate you tuning in. My name is Bill, this is KO Bets. Please subscribe to the channel, like the stream. I appreciate your support tremendously. Have a nice night.